Hello, Hoops fans. Welcome back to Tips and Streams, your go-to spot for all things NBA betting. As always, it's your host, Kokan here, and I'm super excited to bring you today's jam-packed episode. We've got a thrilling lineup of today's NBA games, and I'm ready to dive deep with our predictions and insider tips. Whether you're a seasoned bettor or just getting into the game, today's episode is tailored just for you. Stay tuned, and let's get into today's NBA betting predictions on Tips and Streams. The first today's prediction is for matchup between Washington Wizards and Detroit Pistons. In the upcoming Hoops clash at Little Caesars Arena, the Washington Wizards are set to battle it out with the Detroit Pistons. This season's been a tough slog for both squads, with this face-off being more about hoops honor and growth than playoff dreams for these Eastern ballers. The Wizards, sporting a 737 tally, haven't found their rhythm despite dropping a solid 115.19 points per game on average. Their weak spot? Defense. They're hemorrhaging a worrisome 124.72 points per game. The Pistons aren't shining brighter, sitting at 539. They're scoring 112.45 points per matchup with a defense that's a tad tighter, conceding 122.64 points. Where the Wizards have the edges in shooting precision, netting 47.64% from the field, just outshinning the Pistons' 47.24%. Both teams are in a tight race from downtown, with the Wizards sinking 35.47% of their trays, closely trailed by the Pistons at 36%. On the boards, it's a different game. Detroit snagging more rebounds, averaging 43.25 to Washington's 40.12 per game. Looking back, the Wizards usually have the Pistons' number, particularly in Detroit. They've snagged 9 victories in their last 10 showdowns, though their spread coverage is hit or miss, only coming through in 6 of those games. Recent form still tips towards the Wizards, who've clinched 4 wins in their last 5 Detroit visits, but only beat the spread in 2 of those. Both teams are hitting the hardwood fully loaded, a rare sight in the NBA's relentless grind. This sets the stage for a compelling skirmish. Despite the Wizards' edge in head-to-heads and a slightly sharper offense, the Pistons are acing the spread game lately, going 6-0 in their recent stretch. They've also been spread slayers against Eastern Conference foes. Meanwhile, the Wizards are faltering in spread battles and have dropped their last 10-day games. When you eye the stats and recent patterns, the Pistons, with a 1.5-point spread favor, seem to have a subtle advantage, especially in spread handling. The game's 240.5-point total hints at a high-score fest, but with both teams leaking points, it could tilt to the over. We've got 2 struggling teams in a daytime game. What's the worst that could happen? The Pistons, often a whisker away from wins, play with heart. The Wizards, on the other hand, seem to prioritize fun over focus. If Detroit can't clinch this one on their home court, their victory drought might stretch on. Wrapping up, the Pistons, with home court advantage and a solid spread covering streak, look set to edge this one out. It's likely to be a nail-biter, potentially soaring past the total points mark. My money's on the Pistons, the squad that's showing up to win, to take this and cover the 1.5-point spread. Today's prediction is for the game between Miami Heat and New York Knicks. In this epic court clash, the Miami Heat are hitting the road to square off against the New York Knicks at the legendary Madison Square Garden. Let's break down this matchup, blending recent plays, team stats, and historical showdowns to call the game winner. Kicking off with current form, the Miami Heat, with a scorecard of 24 wins and 21 losses, are hitting a rough patch. Their latest trend is troubling. They're 0-5 against the spread in their recent 5 and dropped the same number of games in a straight fight. This downturn is key, especially with the total dipping under in 7 of their last 8, signaling a hitch in their offensive game. On the flip side, the New York Knicks, standing strong at 28 wins and 17 losses, are on fire. They've nailed a solid 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 bouts and aced a 5-0 in straight wins over the same stretch. Their defense is on point, as seen by the total going under in their last 7, including 5 on their home turf. In direct matchups in the Big Apple, the Knicks have been ruling the court recently, with a 5-1 straight-up record in their last 6 home games against the Heat. However, the Heat have been more consistent against the spread, covering it in 3 of their last 5 face-offs in New York. Looking at team stats, the Knicks have the upper hand in scoring, racking up an average of 115 hour points per game, while the Heat trail with 110.52. Defense-wise, it's a tight race, with the Knicks allowing 110.41 points per game and the Heat just a hair more at 110.55. In shooting efficiency, the Knicks edge out with a field goal percentage of 46.63% over the Heat's 46.27%. But the Heat have the upper hand in three-point precision, shooting 37.64% against the Knicks' 37.16%. Rebounds are crucial, and here the Knicks shine brighter, pulling down an average of 46.23 per game compared to Miami's 41.59. This could be pivotal in setting the game's rhythm and grabbing those crucial second-chance points. All signs point towards the New York Knicks taking this one. They've got the home court, better recent form, and outperform in critical areas like scoring and rebounding. The Knicks are also the favorites to beat the spread, pegged as minus 5.5 favorites. With the total points set at 214 and both teams trending under recently, a low-scoring game seems likely. The Heat's on a 5-game skid, and notably, they were the favorites in 3 of those. Facing the red-hot Knicks, the odds don't look great for them. The Knicks are cruising on a 5-game winning streak, and crucially, they've covered the spread in 4 of those, missing the minus 12-point spread only against the Wizards in Washington. In the NBA, surprises are always around the corner, but backing the Heat here, even as a 10-point underdog, doesn't seem wise. In sum, the New York Knicks look set to extend their winning run and cover the spread in this face-off with the Miami Heat. I'm placing my bet on the Knicks to triumph and outdo the spread. The next today's prediction is for the game between Philadelphia 76ers and Denver Nuggets. As the 76ers and Nuggets lace up for their high-octane face-off on January 27, 2024 at the Ball Arena in Denver, we're gearing up for a basketball spectacle. Both squads are tearing up the league this season, with the Philly crew banking 29 wins against 14 losses, and the Denver squad boasting 31 victories and 15 defeats. Philly's been lighting up the scoreboard, dropping an average of 119.79 points per game, while Denver's hot on their heels, netting 115.87 points per tilt. On defense, the 76ers are giving up 111.52 points each game, just a hair more than the Nuggets' 110.89. But when it comes to shooting with precision, Denver's got the upper hand, sinking shots at a 49.86% clip, outshining Philly's 47.59%. The Nuggets also have a slight edge from beyond the arc, hitting 37.46% of their threes compared to the 76ers' 36.97%. The rebound battle is tight, with Denver snagging 44.0 boards per game and Philly just a step behind at 43.74. The Nuggets also boast slicker playmaking, dishing out 29.11 assists per game over the 76ers' 25.40. An important factor is their past showdowns in Denver. The 76ers often find it tough on Denver's turf, winning only once in their last 4 visits. Yet, they've been strong against the spread lately, covering it in 7 of their last 10 against the Nuggets. Injuries could tilt the scales. Philly might miss the firepower of Marcus Morris, Tobias Harris, Mohamed Bamba, Robert Covington, and DeAnthony Melton, while Denver's only worry is Julian Strawther's questionable status. Looking at the trends, the Nuggets are beasts at home with a 16-4 record in their last 20 home games. The 76ers, though, hold their own on the spread when playing away in Denver. In the betting world, the Nuggets are tipped with a 1.5-point advantage, and the over-under total is pegged at 227. Denver's sharpshooting and recent home court prowess suggest they're the ones to beat the spread. This season, the 76ers came out on top in 2 of their 9 underdog bouts, while the Nuggets, favored in 41 games, clinched 29 of those. Philly's the 5th-ranked scoring team, averaging 119.8 points, and Denver's 5th in defense, conceding just 111.1 points per game. The Nuggets have outscored their opponents by 186 points, 4.1 per game this season, while the 76ers have a 335-point advantage, 7.8 per game. These teams boast the NBA's top players, Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. Joel hasn't hit the court in Denver for a few seasons, but it looks like he'll play tomorrow. I'm betting on Joker and the Nuggets to pull out all the stops for a win, shaking off their recent New York Knicks fiasco. Wrapping up, while the 76ers can hold their own, the Nuggets, with their stellar home record and shooting accuracy, seem poised to take this one, likely covering the spread as well. The next today's prediction is for the game between Houston Rockets and Brooklyn Nets. In the upcoming showdown at the Barclays Center, the Houston Rockets and Brooklyn Nets are gearing up for a real barn burner. The Rockets, riding a roller coaster of performances, recently snapped their losing streak with a crucial W against the Hornets thanks to a fiery second-half rally. Meanwhile, the Nets are in a funk, dropping 12 of their last 14. Their woes are compounded by weak stats in opponent free throw percentage and turnovers per game. It's crunch time for them to turn things around. Breaking down their stats, the Rockets are dropping an average of 112.91 points per game, while the Nets notch a hair higher at 113.93. Defensively, Houston gives up 112.72 points, but the Nets are leaking more, allowing 115.58 per game, with field goal percentages hovering around 46% for the Rockets and 45.84% for the Nets, and three-point shots at 35.33% and 30% respectively. Both squads can light up the scoreboard. They've got playmakers who can turn the game on its head offensively. The Rockets face a back-to-back challenge, which might sap their energy and defensive sharpness. Teams on back-to-backs often see a dip in defense, hinting at a high-scoring affair ahead. The Rockets have struggled in these scenarios, hinting at potential defensive hiccups. Injury updates add another twist. With Rockets' key players Reggie Bullock, Jae'Sean Tate, and Jabari Smith on the fence, and Day'Ron Sharpe out for the Nets, we might see more offensive fireworks as defenses scramble to cover. Past trends show the Rockets love a high-scoring game, with totals soaring over in 5 of their last 7. Their back-to-back record and offensive stats suggest this trend might roll on. Head-to-head, the Rockets have covered the spread in recent Brooklyn bouts, pointing to nail-biters with lots of points on the board. All signs point to a scoreboard bonanza, likely eclipsing the 218-point mark. Both teams pack an offensive punch and face situations that could put their defenses to the test. After the Rockets' much-needed victory against the Hornets and the Nets' narrow miss against the Timberwolves, predicting a high-octane, high-scoring game seems like a slam dunk.